Hi everyone, I am Big Charles, and I cannot fucking take it. The monkey's paw has curled viciously around my deepest and most bloody of desires. The universe is strange, unruly, and often cruel. From Software has announced their next game that will feature PvP, and it is a Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive. Welcome back, y'all. I apologize for the delay between videos, but this announcement, combined with Monster Hunter Wilds and my life itself, I have one of those, being quite busy has just had me stun locked for like a week. Thankfully, I remembered to use Endure, so I am now out of hit stun, and I've cast a 100-year hex upon the nation of Japan for their transgressions. So yeah, like, subscribe, let's talk Duskbloods. When Duskbloods was first announced, and yes, I know it's called the Duskbloods, I'm just gonna say Duskbloods. When it was first announced, I was overwhelmed by thoughts and feelings, so much so that I thought maybe I should wait to talk about it, but I'm still occupied by some rather strong thoughts and feelings, so I think I'm just gonna put it out there and move on with my life. I'll be referring to the Nintendo Direct interview with Miyazaki throughout this video, or maybe it's creator's voice, I forget what they call it, but I'll put a link in the description for anyone that wants to read that. The first question of the interview is the biggest one for me. It's weighed the most heavily on my mind, and that is, quote, "Please tell us what led to this title being developed for the Nintendo Switch 2, unquote." And the answer essentially boils down to funding. Quote unquote, Nintendo seemed very interested in helping make the Duskbloods a reality. Yeah, I'm sure they were, considering a post-Elden Ring FromSoft exclusive is pretty much guaranteed to move a bunch of consoles that would not move otherwise. Miyazaki also mentions, quote, "the new hardware's focus on online features," unquote, which I find extremely dubious, but who knows? And maybe Nintendo has something up their sleeve. I need to just address the elephant in the room. This game being a Switch 2 exclusive makes just absolutely no sense from a consumer or game design standpoint. And frankly, this move is just purely demonstrative of From Software's lack of common sense. A title like this stands to gain essentially nothing from being exclusive to a mobile platform from a company known for subpar, outdated hardware and dogshit network infrastructure, with the game being developed by a company known for truly inadequate performance stability and very lazy netcode. What has had me stun-locked is trying to wrap my head around why in the world FromSoft would choose this avenue to release their first PvPvE-centric, always online sort of game. It's a wildly incompetent and anti-consumer pivot that I hate. And it kind of spits in the face of all the community feedback regarding Bloodborne's exclusivity. All that is to say, while this game itself sounds so incredibly cool and interesting, I'm probably never going to play it, unless it's a timed exclusive, but we all know Nintendo. So yeah, that has me just incredibly bummed out. Now that that's off my chest, though, I'd just like to point out something kind of cool and interesting about the recent wave of FromSoft announcements. A lot of people, or the PvE Kevins, are moaning about From Software making online-focused games. Probably some vets are too, but whatever. Night Rain and Duskbloods. And it reminds me of another developer and community that I'm somewhat privy to. Capcom and Monster Hunter. So for those of y'all that are not aware, the Monster Hunter series maintains a clear pattern and delineation between mainline and mobile entries, with the mainline entries focusing on delivering more kind of complete, grounded, refined experiences with world building and a living environment, while the mobile entries are more of a pure gameplay-centric kind of sandbox with experimental and often goofy mechanics that are then tweaked and implemented into the next generation's mainline title. Whether consciously or not, I think FromSoft is beginning to implement an approach similar to this, with Elden Ring being last generation's mainline title, and Night Rain and Duskbloods being similar to Monster Hunter's mobile titles, like Rise Sunbreak. They're to bridge the gap to the next generation's mainline title by giving the devs time to experiment with new gameplay concepts in a lower stakes environment, while giving players something to chew on in the meantime. Ultimately, I think this is pretty cool if I am indeed on the money about it, and I could see this being a very sustainable and healthy approach for From Software, and I'm pretty happy to get a game more frequently. Even if sometimes those games are lower budget or less refined, or even a Switch 2 exclusive, but I could really do without that last bit. But yeah, if you're one of those people that's concerned that FromSoft is pivoting towards multiplayer games, I think it would do you well to consider that they might be approaching a new release structure in the way I've described. And in the Nintendo interview, Miyazaki even says, "This is an online multiplayer title at its core, but this doesn't mean we as a company have decided to shift to a more multiplayer-focused direction with titles going forward." That's a quote. He also says we're going to keep making, single-player games. Though I and many other fellow Red Men would love to see them put multiplayer more at the forefront of the mainline releases, it's good to see that they haven't completely abandoned the idea of developing intriguing PvPvE scenarios, and I'm hopeful that this game will at least positively influence the development of whatever the next iteration on or evolution of the invasion system might look like. Ultimately, I don't really have much of a cogent point to make here. I just felt like I needed to say something about this game. The structure of it sounds incredibly cool, and I'm still really conflicted by this announcement. On the one hand, I want to support the game to say, hey, you have a PvP audience, you have people that want this edgy, evil shit in your games. But on the other hand, it really freaking sucks that I would have to buy the console I've never wanted in my life. I'm not exactly a Nintendo hater, but I'm pretty freaking close. I don't care for any games I can think of made by Nintendo other than like Smash and Mario Galaxy. So yeah, I really don't want to Switch 2, and it really freaking sucks for me that they have essentially made the game of my dreams, a hunt showdown like, with mixed Victorian to early modern vampire aesthetics and amped up Souls-like combat, with varying incentives to engage with the PvPvE content in different ways every single match. Like, holy crap, man. Yeah, I want that. And then they just go and make it exclusive to the console that just makes the least sense, man. I know I'm ranting, but whatever. If you're here this far, you're here to hear me rant. You're a real one. Thank you. And like, who is the core audience for this game? Probably not people that want to play freaking, what's that game? You like make a town or something. Animal Crossing? I don't feel like there's that much crossover between people that want to play Animal Crossing on the Switch too and freaking Duskbloods. That's just me. You know, I have my ear to the wall in a couple of communities, and outside of the Souls community, I'm probably most involved with the pseudo-hardcore extraction game PvPvE people, you know, the Tarkov people, the Hunt Showdown people, Marauders, Dark and Darker. And I don't think many of the people in the middle of the Venn diagram for this game want to play on a Nintendo Switch 2. I mean, the paraplegic basketball game looks pretty sick, but like, I don't want to pay $500 for a worse and more restrictive iteration of what the Steam Deck already does. Alright, I'm done ranting. I guess I'm just feeling the effects of being a longtime From Software fan. They always manage to make the coolest thing imaginable and then make sure that they fuck it up in at least one way. But, you know, c'est la vie. I appreciate y'all watching. I'm gonna talk about Lords of the Fallen invasions in the next vid, because they're kind of interesting. And yeah, thanks for answering the poll that I put up on the channel. And that's about it, y'all. I appreciate you listening, even though I'm just freaking malding about the Switch 2. Boycott Nintendo. Peace.